U.S. President Donald Trump is in Scotland for a 5-day trip that will also include meetings with EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Trump teed off his visit with a round of golf at his resort in Turnberry in Scotland's southwest. Thousands of police have been deployed to manage the protests planned for Trump's trip, including environmental demonstrations against his new golf course he is due to visit in Aberdeenshire. Upon his arrival in Scotland, Trump spoke to reporters and slammed Europe's wind energy and immigration policies. DW correspondent Birgit Maas is in Aberdeen in Scotland and following Trump's visit for us. Birgit, I see people gathering behind you there. How welcomed is Trump in Scotland?
Well, he's not welcome here at this protest in Aberdeen. There are protests also in other parts of Scotland against President Trump. And it's interesting because he was actually once a business ambassador for Scotland. That was an honor that was put upon him by the former First Minister. He was also held an honorary degree here at the University of Aberdeen. However, that got stripped when he was calling for a ban on Muslims to enter the US. And meanwhile, the vast majority of British people and of Scottish people don't hold a favourable view on President Trump. And I spoke to Alena Ivanova, who is one of the organisers of the Stop Trump protests here in Scotland.
I think it's regrettable that our elected leaders are not willing to stand up to Donald Trump. It's the right thing to do, but beyond that, it's also the smart thing to do. Donald Trump is not a reliable ally. He's shown that to the world with his tariffs, with his trade policy, with his attitude towards Ukraine and the conflict with Russia. He's not a man to be trusted. And so if we stand together against him, we have a much better chance to build the kind of world we want.
Yes, so there were many arguments of the protesters here in Aberdeen. Others are saying, they have told me that they oppose him because he doesn't take the climate crisis seriously. So many climate protesters also here amongst those people protesting in Aberdeen.
Speaking of the climate crisis, the energy transition is a hot topic in Aberdeen, transitioning, of course, from fossil fuels to renewables. And now here's Trump saying they should get rid of windmills and bring back oil. What are people saying when they hear that?
Well, these protesters here really take issue with it. President Trump fought hard against an offshore wind park here off the coast of Aberdeen. However, he did not win. So these windmills are now built and they are very visible from his golf course here in Aberdeenshire. The UK government, it has to be said, goes all out on the low carbon future. They have made Aberdeen really the hub of their flagship renewable energy policy. So Aberdeen was once the oil capital of Europe. However, it's now the hub of also many renewable companies. And this is the direction that the UK government sees the country going. So when it comes to renewable energy, President Trump and the UK governments don't see eye to eye.
Indeed. Birgit, no doubt there'll be rounds of golf there, but we understand that Trump will also be talking trade with the EU chief and the British Prime Minister. What more can you tell us?
Yes, we know that officially he's here at the weekend to play golf, but we now know that Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, is meeting him tomorrow and presumably at his golf course. We don't know if they're going to have a round together or not. But what we presume is that they will be talking about tariffs because there is a deadline for a trade deal between the US and the EU, and President Trump has threatened to slap 30% tariffs on all EU exports. And so this is basically coming to a close. Then we also know that he will be meeting with Keir Starmer, who's also travelling up to Scotland, we presume, to meet Donald Trump here. And one of the hot topics I think that will be on the agenda between those two, I think, is Gaza. Over 200 MPs here in the UK have written a letter to Prime Minister Starmer and they want him to recognise Palestine as a state. And they're also saying that President Trump holds the cards when it comes to the conflict. So we're expecting that to be discussed here in Scotland as well.
That's DW correspondent Birgit Maas in Aberdeen. Many thanks, Birgit.
Jonathan next.